This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000 Houses podcast. I'm here with Coach Pat Martin, and we're going to be talking about real estate and how it all came to him and how far he's taken it and some of the adventures in his life. This guy has lived a tremendously adventurous life. He's followed God into the jungles, talked to people about forgiveness, taught tribes, been part of helping spread Jesus's word all through the jungles, and he's used real estate to make this happen for him. I was reading in your bio somewhere where, it's been said that money is the root of all evil. It really says stinginess with your time and your money is the root of all evil. And with lots of money, we can do lots of great things if we focus on it right and do the right things. It's really hard to help people when you have nothing. It's a little easier to help people when you have more or a lot, so it's just how your focus is. So how you doing, Coach Pat?
Mitch, I'm doing amazing. Thank you for letting me hang out with you this afternoon.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I loved reading your bio. So you're working for the church. You're, kind of living hand to mouth. You're not really in it for the money. You're doing God's work. You're giving. Maybe you make $30,000 a year, which even back then was not much,
Exactly.
And somebody comes to you and says, we'd like to take some of these homeless people and hand pick a few of them, and maybe they can work with us on these crews. We could get them a trade, or we could, educate them a little bit, get some solid ground under their feet, so to speak. And maybe we can help that way. And then you start to learn about real estate, because this guy was a rehabber flipper, right?
He was. Mitch, he asked me, he said, hey, Coach, he called me pastor back then, have you ever thought about doing real estate investing? And Mitch, you know what? I said, oh, no, I'm not called to that. But I tell you what, he planted that seed, and 6 months later, I assigned my first contract on my lunch break working for the church. I made $4,000 on that assignment fee, and I made more money on that assignment on my lunch break than I did working all month long for the church.
Yeah, so that's always a great revelation. That first check, it doesn't really matter that it's not huge. It doesn't matter how much that check is. It's kind of proof of concept. And that you weren't really the smartest guy on the planet in real estate, and you're still able to make like $4,000, which at the time was a lot of money to you, per month. The ones I feel sorry for are the ones that go out and make $100,000 on their first deal by accident. Those are the guys I feel sorry for, because oh no, I hear that story all the time, and they're completely ruined for a while. They have to then hit the hard times, lose it or mess it up. And then they start learning, to build a business. I kind of feel sorry for those guys that hit it big on the very first deal. It's a double-edged sword. So tell me about that first deal.
Well, the man's name, I need to call him up and hunt him down. He's up in Dallas. My wife and I worked for a large church up there, and I was the street pastor of the homeless. And at any rate, a few months later, that seed, when he planted that seed, I started thinking about it. And actually, somebody came to me and said, hey, I have a house that was given to me that I inherited. And do you know anybody that might want to buy it? And I was like, yeah, I don't know how, I don't know whatever. And I said, how much do you want? And they said, hey, it's an abandoned house. The windows are torn out, blah, blah, blah. I want $10,000. I'm like, sounds good to me. So I did a contract with him. Didn't know what I was doing. Did a contract, and I checked that box. And I said, hey, we want to assign this thing. Sound like a good deal to me. Keep my options open. And so I went and told that friend of mine that asked me, planted that seed, if I was interested in real estate investing. I went to him. I said, hey, Elisha is his name, Elisha Lewis. I found this deal. And he says, great. He says, it's not worth 10,000. So I went back to the people that wanted to sell, and I said, hey, I'll give you 5,000 for it. And Elisha found me a buyer at like $9,000, and we went to closing at Chicago Title. And I walked out of there with $4,000 in my pocket, and I said, you know what, this doesn't suck.
This doesn't suck. And So then you got into kind of how did you go from there to the fix and flip? I mean, what was your journey there?
Journey there, I was let go from the big church, and they gave me a severance package, and that severance package was all of $1,200, which was like, come on, I won't give you like 9 years of my life. You're going to give me a $1,200 severance package? I'm like, this is crazy. And so we wound up coming back to the Tampa area, and a friend of mine was working construction. He had a construction crew, and I told him I'm looking for work. I was interviewing at churches out here, and a bunch of old retired farts. I call them orph churches with white hair. They don't want to do any outreach, and I'm like, I don't fit. So I went down there, and he goes, hey, I need like a supervisor to watch my guys and make sure they work, because when he leaves to go to another job site, these guys, they take breaks. And he goes, just pretend like you know what you're doing. So I started learning how to chip out windows when one of the workers didn't show up. I learned how to faux finish retainer walls and stucco, and do decorative driveways, to paint, to you name it, by when the painters didn't show up. And so I was on the job training, learning how to rehab, not realizing what I was doing. And my wife wound up getting a tape set of real estate. And
Who was it?
Ron LeGrand, the red one, the blue one, and the yellow, the tape set. Back, they weren't even CDs.
Cassettes.
Yeah, there were cassettes. And so I started listening I was driving 2 hours from the north side of Tampa to Sarasota, and I put in the tapes, man. I was just listening to them. And after, you listen to Ron LeGrand for, a couple of months, I went out, I made ridiculous offers. I used the mail formula. I got my first house. We rehabbed it as a family. We'd order pizza at night. The kids would, they would do whatever, help out and paint and whatever. And they'd fall asleep in the living room. We'd work until about midnight. And I did a round robin auction, Mitch, because I read a book, man. It's all about education. So I read a book. I did a weekend sale, round robin auction on Valentine's weekend.
Sell your house in 7 days, right?
5 days.
5 days. Yeah.
7 days, 5 days. It was probably 7 days, come to think of it. But that weekend, I had over 90 people show up. And Mitch, I closed and put in my pocket $29,992.43.
You remember that number, huh?
That didn't suck, brother.
You remember that number. Okay, so but you're out there doing it like we all started doing it. You're doing the work yourself. How long does it take you to figure out that that's not what you're supposed to be doing?
You're right. It did. It took about 3 or 4 more rehabs. And then I'm like, hey, we can hire this stuff out.
Yeah. Well, a couple of $29,000 checks will give you make you a little bolder.
Yeah. And you know what? We had an educational fund. So we took a portion of that and $2,500, and we went and spent it on seminars and boot camps to educate ourselves to go to that next level. So every deal we put money aside to go to a boot camp, and we started out with Ron LeGrand's boot camps back in the day.
Yeah, I started with Ron LeGrand and Lou Brown. They were my 2 favorites.
Yep.
My very first one that I ever ordered was a Carlton Sheets.
Yeah.
And, back before the digital age, there was so many people that bought, let me say this. I bought that Carlton Sheets thing, and it was rather expensive for me. And I ordered it, from the TV midnight infomercial, and it was expensive for me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then I didn't even open the box. I was so intimidated by the whole thing. I didn't even ever get to it, really. I did eventually read some books and go to a boot camp, and then that's kind of how I started. But I found that box one day, and I never opened it, and I always wonder, why didn't you open it? And I said, I guess I was so afraid of not understanding the paperwork and all the terms and everything that it was intimidating me. But I took that lesson, and one day I wanted to order the Tony Robbins stuff, but of course his was like $800 a month for 6 months or something. It was like a really high ticket thing, and it was 32 CDs and the whole thing. And I thought to myself, I wonder how many people have bought this thing like I did the Carlton Sheets course. So I placed an ad in the classifieds, and I just said, if you have a Tony Robbins course, the 32 discs, whatever, I'd like to buy it from you if you're done with it. And I bought it for $50 in a parking lot, and there was a cellophane taken off of the very first CD, but all the rest of them were still in the cellophane, wrapped. And so I did a lot better with that one. I got through a large portion of it. It was not for me. I have an ADD, if you haven't noticed. Like, so I don't stay with a topic really long. So
it's good, man.
After about a week or so, I had enough Tony Robbins, and it was time to put him down. Great stuff, and I love the guy, but we all have different ways we learn. You obviously learn the way I do, through doing and
Yes,
failing
sir.
and messing up and tearing it all out and starting over again.
Oh man. Like you got to make mistakes. If you learn from them, it's a good thing. And those are seminars that you pay for.
Well, that's what people probably get sick of me saying this, but you're either going to pay the street, or you're going to pay the coach or the boot camp, or you're going to pay one way or the other. And the street is just brutal. And it won't encourage you, and it won't help you up. And because I learned that way, the hard way, through the street. I like to tell everyone I graduated from La Calle U. That's the street in Spanish, like La Calle University.
Oh yeah, Calle.
I'm actually going to get a college ring. I keep threatening to get a college ring that looks like it's from A&M, but around the side it says La Calle U. And when people ask me what college I'm from, I'm going to say La Calle U and hold up my ring. And if they get it, they get it, and if they don't get it, they don't get it. So, but I almost quit because I had a couple of mishaps early on, and to think of how close I came to walking away from an industry that has changed my entire life and many, many people's lives around me, starting with my family, and then beyond that, with the coaching and the teaching and the helping people in town. So it's scary how close I came to walking away from the industry because I didn't get a coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we've all been there, Mitch, all of us, where we get frustrated, we go through, we're like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. And we get that little victory, that little extra win that just pushes us a little bit further.
I think what's so right about getting the coaching or the professional advice, or getting in a room with the people that are doing it, or getting on a group coaching call, or whatever it is that you see other people doing it, and you're talking to them, or you're at the seminar and you have lunch with them, and then you can say to yourself, if that guy can do it, I can do it. He's not smarter than me.
Oh yeah.
Or when I'm not to say that I'm smart, but I'm saying he can't be that much smarter than me. You know what I mean? Like this, if he can do it, I can do it. Or when you go and the guy gets on the call and says, yeah, I just made 50 grand. This is what I did with a mobile home. I'm like, holy cow. So it's kind of giving validation to the strategies that they work. You might not be doing it yourself, but there's these guys on the call, or the guys in the room that are doing it. And you can kind of stand up next to them and go, well, they don't look that much different than me.
Or you wonder like, how in the world were they successful?
Yeah. Like if this guy did it, like, what am I waiting for?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have a course, first of all, you wrote a book called Pre-Foreclosure Profits, right?
Pre-foreclosure cash cow.
Okay.
Pre-foreclosure rental riches is really what it is.
Okay. Pre-foreclosure rental riches. And then today you have a course out. It's normally like $2,000, but if you'll buy it through the link here, and I'm going to give the link, we'll just say it right now. It's 1000houses.com/Coach Pat. Okay. Keyword Coach Pat. And if you go there, the course is regularly $2,000.
It's $2,495. So basically $2,500.
Okay. And so you can get it for basically $1,000, a little under $1,000, a couple dollars under $1,000. So what is that? What are they going to learn if they go to that direction?
Well, I stumbled into this, Mitch, back in the foreclosure boom of the 2008, 2009, 2010. We were doing, 40 to 60 short sales a month. And then sometimes we come across these houses where we couldn't do a short sale. And I got with my attorney. He was I can't call him a business partner, but he was my business colleague. And we were joint venturing together. And we stumbled across where we picked up these houses. And when we couldn't do a short sale, we rented them from the owner. The owner has the legitimate right. Now, I'm not an attorney, so don't take anything I say as legal advice, but my attorney would tell me a homeowner has a legal right, whether he has an apartment complex or he has his own home, he's got the legal right to rent out his house, even if he's behind and in default, no matter what place in default he might be, unless the bank puts a motion together and they want to collect the rental income and have it paid into the court registry, of which I've done this for 12 years, Mitch, and that's not happened to me, not even one time.
Yeah, the bank's not going to go down there and knock on the door and say, send your payment over here instead of over there. They're not going to do it.
So really, it's very simple. We find these vacant houses that are in default, and I have a few phrases that I use to get the homeowner's interest, to pique their interest. You have to do in about 10 seconds, and I'll share what that is. And we rent the home from the homeowner with the right to sublet, but I rent it at a discounted, distressed rental rate, which comes out to about 25% of what I can rent the home to my tenant. And so when I get a homeowner on the phone, I use some programs. Now you can drive for dollars, you can partner up, and I use mailmen, because mailmen know every vacant house in the farming areas that I want to farm in. I don't want to be in the war zones. I want to be in some gated communities. So I give away $500 gift cards. It's not cash, no name on it, and I give that to my mailman. She's a mail lady, and I give that to her, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm looking for more properties." But there's all kinds of ways that you can get the leads. We skip trace them, and we called up the homeowner. And Mitch, if I was calling you up on the phone, I would say, hey, ring, ring, ring. Hey, this is Coach Pat. I'm trying to find Mitch. And I was hoping he might be able to help me out. And Mitch would say, well, okay, Coach Pat, do I know you? What's this about? When you ask somebody, I'm hoping you might be able to help me out, it pulls a wall down, and you're not trying to sell that person something. And when I get Mitch on the phone, the homeowner, and I say, Mitch, you don't know me, but I noticed your house on 123 Elm Street. It looked vacant, and I'm looking for a place to rent. And I was hoping you could help me out. That is my foot in the door, and that opens up the conversation, because I'm not approaching them saying, and I know people do this out there. Hey, I'd like to buy your house. I've got all cash and I can close quickly. Click. But when you ask them, and I approach you, I was hoping you might be able to help. I'm looking for a place to rent, Mitch, and I noticed a house on Elm Street, and I think you're the owner, and it looked vacant. Can you help me out? I'm telling you what, the walls come down, brother.
So let me ask, so you negotiate, how long is this lease that you negotiate? Because I think I got some things running through my head. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to interview you, because I hear the same old strategies over and over and over again. I mean, there's so many. We know the popular ones. My strategy might be a little out of the box more than normal. Of course, it's getting more normal now after me and other people have been talking about it for 20 years, but seller financing the houses on 30-year notes with no balloons. But then I heard, you're renting houses with the right to sublet, which I've heard of in the Airbnb courses, but I never thought to just go straight to a rental and get a right to sublease, and just a house, just flat out, not Airbnb, not anything, just a house. So I'm going to guess, one is, if it needs work before you can rent it, then you'd have to get a much longer lease, right? Because you got to recoup your money.
Nope.
You're only doing houses that are ready to move into now?
Not exactly.
Tell us. See, these are the questions I have.
Okay, you're going to love this. So, Mitch, in my Facebook ads, on my Facebook marketplace, that's really where I advertise. You know what? I love bandit signs. I used to be the #1 code enforcement violator in my county, and I wear that title with proudly wear it, man. But when I was living in South America, I was still marketing for houses here in the States. I'm not putting out bandit signs. I'm sitting on the beach and we're helping out an orphanage, helping with the Venezuelan refugees. And two, when you live on the beach, you got to go surfing, you got to go scuba diving. It's a tough, I was suffering for Jesus, brother. You know what I mean? But so in my ad, I need first, last, and I use what's called a use and occupancy agreement. I don't use it with my tenant. Okay. It's the same thing concept that you use when you go to a resort or Airbnb or vacation rental by owner, because they don't have to evict you. Now, so I use what's called a use and occupancy fee instead of a deposit. A fee doesn't have to be refunded, but a deposit does. So I get first, last, and my use and occupancy fee. So if I'm renting the house out for $2,500 a month, I'm getting upfront $7,500. But if you can put in some sweat equity, if you can put a little elbow grease, my former tenant didn't quite leave the house as clean as I would like it. If you'd like a free month's rent and would like to clean it up, your next monthly payment won't be due until 60 days. So that's how they get their first free month, but they're putting up first, last, and the use and occupancy fee up front. They're moving in and they clean up the place for me. They'll shampoo the carpets. They'll put a fresh coat of paint on, do whatever needs to take place. Now, when I do get the house, pick up the house, I might have to call in the landscape company to have keep the lawn mowed. But typically, these houses don't last very long. And so I in my advertisement, I put the ad in there. Now, one of my worst case scenario was I had to give away 62 free months because it needed paint and
how many months?
2 free months.
Okay.
Okay. But I still got first, last, and my use and occupancy fee up front. And I gave away 2 free months. So the first monthly payment's not due for 90 days. The ex-wife lost the home in the divorce, but she paid for that carpet. So that carpet was not left in the house when I got it. And she let her kids write messages to dad in felt tip markers all over about this far down on the wall. And so it needed to be painted. So I tell you what, the people who were like, oh my God, this is perfect. We'll paint it. We'll paint it our colors and we'll do, I'm like, great. So I was able to rent it. I get first, last, and my use and occupancy fee up front, my $7,500 or $9,000 if I'm renting for $3,000 a month. But their first monthly payment's not due typically for 60 days because I give away a free month and people love it.
Wow. The first time I'd ever heard about that really was when 9/11 happened. The guy who had the master lease on the buildings that fell, he had a master lease and was subbing out all the office spaces in the Twin Towers, for a marked up fee, so that was the first time I'd ever heard of it, but I never thought about it in houses,
Mitch, I picked up a house in Pennsylvania, and this house, I picked it up 2 days before it was going to auction. So I get the homeowner on the phone and I asked him, what are your goals and desires? What do you want to do? It's going to auction in 2 days. What is your game plan? And I said, would you like to know what I would do if I were you? I can't tell you what to do, but I've done this and this is what I would do, but you'd have to ask me. And so Mitch, well, what would you do? I would file what's called an emergency bankruptcy petition, emergency petition bankruptcy application, and get it filled out so I could block the auction. So the next day he says, oh, that sounds great. The next day we call him up. He goes, oh, it's not worth it for me. The bank's going to let me live there for 21 days. I'm like, ooh, I love that. I love that phrase. It's not worth it to me. So what would make it worth it? And so Mitch, I said, would $1,500 make it worth it for you? And how would you like to live there for 3 months? Or almost 3 months. And instead of just 21 days, would that be worth it? And the guy was like, absolutely. He blocks the auction. We go under contract with him. I'm now negotiating with this lender to do a reinstatement and a recast. Come to find out, Mitch, he's got a guest house out back that he rents for $600 or $550 a month. And his PITI is $950. And we negotiated with him to clean up the guest house out back. We know that we can get $600 to $700 a month rent for it. He's painting it as we speak. We think we can rent both of them out. Our profit is going to be $2,800 to $2,900, and PITI is only $950 a month. So we're looking at between $1,800 to $2,000 a month cash flow profit on this, and we'll reinstate the loan. As soon as we get the reinstatement, we'll go ahead and pick it up as a sub-2, file the deed, pay the transfer tax, and this guy, he's already planning to move out of the home. Now, I'm not kicking him out. He told me what he wanted to do.
Yeah. So let me ask you, in most cases, when you, what do you have to give the owner to get them to let you get a master lease or a lease with the right to sublease? What are you offering them? Just as little as you can, or you're offering to take it with all its defects and imperfections, or what?
$10 in most, just the binder fee on the contract. And by the way, I deal with vacant houses. This one just happened to be an anomaly because we actually marketed the guy thinking that he'd already moved out, and he's got an auction day in 2 days. And he goes, hey, we asked him what he was going to do. And he says, well, his significant other, really common law wife, her credit is in good shape. And so they're looking to move, and they want to buy another house and say goodbye to this one. We're like, okay, I'm all ears. But typically, Mitch, it's a vacant house. And by the way, I hate that the divorce rates in the United States are like at 60% or better. So it doesn't matter whether the market's going up or going down, divorce rates are always climbing a little bit at a time. So that means typically the wife, or the wife, now the ex-wife, winds up with the house. She can't afford to stay there, and she ends up moving out, vacating the house, and she can't afford to pay for a foreclosure defense. So she vacates the home. We approach her and say, we'd like to rent the home out. Now, if I rent it from her, I use I'd like 25. My goal is $2,000 to $4,500 a month. That's my bread and butter range for rental properties. So if I rent one for $2,500, to my tenant, I'm paying about $600 a month to my landlord, the homeowner. And they don't have to fix it up, clean it up, maintain it, tune up ACs. I catch up paying the back payments on HOAs. I negotiate with them. And now, if I have a vested interest, not equitable, if I have a contract to rent the property, attorneys can do foreclosure defense for me just the same as they can do for the owner. And so out of our profit, we'll pay for foreclosure defense. And the longest one I've been able to jam up the foreclosure process for has been 12 years, Mitch.
All right, you guys, if you want to learn more about this, rent it and then rent it out to someone else, or rent it with the right to sublease, lease it with the right to sublease. Go to 1000houses.com/Coach Pat and check it out. That'll take, when you go to that link, you'll go over to the show notes. If we've talked about anything in this podcast, there'll be more information. There'll be contact information for Coach Pat. You'll probably see about this book, Pre-Foreclosure Rental Profits, and get an angle. When you first start out in this business, if you're like 99% of all of us, you're starting out dead broke. You don't have two nickels to rub together. So you got to find these strategies that work with little to no money till you can get a leg up, and there are plenty of these strategies. Here's one I have never talked about on my 540 podcast interviews. So I think this is a real, I was excited about this because I was like, wow, I'm not going to be rehashing some of the same stuff with a different angle, but this is just completely different stuff. So check it out. Think about leasing houses with the right to sublease. That's what I'm trying to say. So also, I want you to check out the course, if you go through that link, 1000houses.com/coach Pat, you're going to save like $1,500, and that's it's not unusual that all us podcasters and real estate guys, we always give a discount to the other coaches if they'll introduce us to their audiences, which is what he's doing. It's not any big secret. If he's just going to meet one person, the price is $2,500. But if he's going to meet a whole bunch of people, by the way, I get 30,000 downloads a month. So I'm not saying you'll get 30,000, but my package of 500 and whatever podcasts, they get downloaded about 30,000 episodes a month. So that's why you offer a discount to come on the shows and help. I help my audience, and he gets introduced to a lot more people. So that's what it's all about.
Mitch, can I share with you, as soon as I got back from South America, I wanted, I was doing it virtually before, and I got a program that I could download and put in my parameters of the houses I'm looking for. I put in the zip code or the town, pre-foreclosure, vacant, and so I populated with about 2,000 addresses. And then I took those addresses and I downloaded that into a skip trace program. And now I wound up with the phone numbers. Then if you want to know how easy this was, guys, I'm a boomer. I'm probably the same age as Mitch. We're both very handsome with gray beards. Okay. And look, if I can do it, and then I found a call program called Zen Call or something like that. And I took all those phone numbers and put it in there. And I plugged in my earpiece and plugged it this thing here. I plugged in the side of my computer and I hit the enter button and it started dialing like 20 or 25 numbers at a time. And I did 4 30-minute sessions and I picked up 2 houses. Check this out. One house I rented for $2,500 a month, the other one $1,800 a month. And I've rented them out now for the past year and a half since I've been back from Ecuador. Because the market has gone up, I got the payoff on the first house, Mitch. The payoff is $273,000, and asked the realtor, "What do you think we should list it for?" She goes, $334,000. We got an offer just under contract last week at $360,000. The payoff is $264,000. And I got an offer with the hedge fund, $360,000, and they want to keep my tenant. The other house I rent for $2,500 a month, Mitch. Payoff is by the way, last summer it was underwater, but because the market's gone up, Mitch, payoff is $463,000. I got an offer at $560,000 on it.
Wow. Close to 100 grand profit. I mean, you got a few expenses out there, but good enough, as Ron LeGrand would say.
That's good enough for me, baby.
What's that rate of return? Let me get my calculator. Good enough.
Well, and you know what? I've been renting them between the 2 houses. I've made, somewhere in that 60,000 range just on the rent income. And now I'm able to, and by the way, I went back to the owner and I got it's a lease option with the right to sublet. So my lease option allows me to purchase it from them.
Opens the conversation, right? Who else would they rather sell it to than the guy that's been sending them payments all this time?
Every month, man. They love me because they weren't getting anything from it. And I cleaned them up. I took care of the HOA fees because those HOA fees were gonna go against their credit. So they're gone. I negotiated those down. I paid them off.
Okay, so are they usually behind in the payments? So you've got to give up some of that money to get the payments caught up, or are you trying to find ones that aren't that far behind?
No, it doesn't matter. And here, I'll give you an idea. I don't start paying rent to my homeowner landlord until after 90 days, starting on month 4. So I'm able to collect my first, last, and my use and occupancy up front, plus the next 3 or 4 months. So I've made,
you can solve some issues with that. If you have some left over, you're left over. If not,
$12,000 to $15,000 in profit up front before I start paying rent. That takes care of an air conditioning unit or tuning it up and some HOA fees.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been a very interesting conversation. What would you like to say to some of the newbies out there that maybe they're just dreaming about going on this journey? What would you say to them?
Guys, people ask me, Mitch, well, how much does it cost? And I said, it doesn't cost much compared to what you'll get on your very first deal. What if you go out and get one deal a month and you're renting them out for $2,500 a month in 12 months? That's 12 deals. If you look at the profit after you pay your rent to the homeowner on that 12th month, if you just went and got one deal a month, guys, that's like working an hour, 2 hours a month. On 12 months, you got 12 deals, you're bringing in over 20 grand a month. So if you don't have good credit and you don't have money and you don't have money to rehab, you've got no excuses, because it's only a $10 binder fee. Unless you go to California, it's a $100 binder fee out there. There might be a couple other states, Mitch, it might be 20 or 25 bucks on the binder fee. But listen to me, you got no excuse. You don't need your credit. And if you got 10 bucks, you can be successful in getting and using this as a tool, another tool in your tool belt. Even if all you did was rent it out and not did a recast or a sub two or do a negotiated settlement with opposing counsel and pay that off and did a fine fix or flip, whatever you want to do, and using private money because you're connected to Mitch and you got all kinds of private money out there to do, pick it up and do private money and do whatever you want to do with it. You can do this without any of your own money or your own credit. And it's as easy as that. If I can do this and I stumble across it, Mitch, you can do it. Any one of your student clients out there can do this as well.
That's kind of brilliant, because it's actually another offer to make when you want to buy the house. But if they can't buy it or you can't agree on the price, or maybe you're just smarter to go out in front and say, look, let me rent that house in its disrepair, like right now as it is, for this price, this little price per month, this little fee. And that's what a great in. It's a great in to and you don't care if they want to keep just accepting that little fee month after month, year after year, or if they want to sell it to you at a decent price, you'll do that too, whatever they want to do.
It's just Mitch, we're marketing for homes, and this, when we get homes like this, instead of throwing them out and say, oh, that's not what I'm looking for, roll that back in. You've got a tool that you can actually create an income stream, solve a problem, be a blessing to that homeowner, put cash in their pocket, and also have a nice monthly cash flow yourself, and let somebody else clean it up. Let your tenant clean it up.
There you go. I like that. That's why I like the seller finance strategy myself, because I can sell the house with the hole in the roof. I'll finance the house and the hole for 30 years at 10%. And, and then that's the most, to me, one of the best strategies in the creative real estate industry is buy it, don't fix it, seller finance it for double, and watch the guy making payments to you go over budget, rehabbing your collateral. I mean, that's, like, to me, the most beautiful plan in the world. I buy the house at 8 a.m. It's for sale at 12:30 or 1 right after lunch. I go get lunch. I go put it up for sale,
Amen
and
to that, bro.
Because when you're seller financing, you don't need an inspection report. I mean, I'm going to sell it with the 4 broken windows, the missing front door, and the hole in the roof for this price. You can fix it, make it whatever you want.
Amen.
And so I like that. I like that a lot. Well, my friend, it's been really nice. Make sure you go over to 1000houses.com/Coach Pat, P-A-T. Check it out. Take advantage of that offer. It's a real offer. It sells it for $2,500 more or less all day long, and you can get it for a little less than $1,000. Doesn't take much to make back $1,000 if you get the right information, and you got to get your butt off the sofa. So if you plan on keeping your butt on the sofa, don't waste your time, just move along. But if you've had enough, if I've had enough is pegged over in the red, if that meter is pegged over there, you're going to have to get in front of somebody and figure out how to get out of this mess that you're in, where you're got a ceiling and they won't let you make any money, and they tell you what to wear every morning, and they tell you when you can go to your kid's basketball game, and they tell you how long you can stay on vacation. They tell you how much money you can make. If you've had enough of that crap, then take a chance on someone. Coach Pat might be just the right guy for you, because he just described to you a strategy that requires some of your time, and some of you gotta have to kind of be an expert, but it won't take any money to speak of. You know what I mean? It
Amen.
won't take any money to speak of. And that's where we all started, in some strategy that we figured out that didn't take any money, any real money. Everything takes a little money. I hate those people that split hairs. Well, it costs money to drive gas, to drive. I mean, you know what? Move a lot. You're just looking for excuses now, because it costs money to sleep, brother. It costs money to sleep. And if you don't believe me, just stay in bed for about 15 days and you will have to get up and buy some food. You will have to.
Amen, man.
All right. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. And please keep up your good work. I think the people that do show up to learn from you, I think you have always have your heart in the right place, because you're a servant and you have a servant's attitude. I could have made a lot of money yanking the rug out from under people that were a couple of days late or whatever. But even in COVID, the ones that legitimately got hurt and they had always been good, and I could figure out that they weren't lying to me or weren't trying to scam me, I would just take their payments and put it on the end, and we'll start over again, because I didn't want to take those people's 20 grand that they gave me down and the improvements they did and the 2 years worth of appreciation. They had $60,000, $70,000 to lose that I could have profited from. But I'm not in this business to take things away from people. The business has been really good to me, been way good to me, better than you might ever know. And I think sometimes in this business you can get around the wrong people, and then they can use these strategies and sometimes take advantage of people. And I don't think that's going to happen with Coach Pat, because that's not this man is a giver to the end. So I really like that you would have a man like him as your coach, because he's centered, he's grounded, and he's got a belief in God and the right thing. So that's a good place. That's a good classroom to be in, no matter what you're trying to learn, is to have a teacher like that. You know what I mean? So then they won't steer you wrong.
Mitch, the two houses that I picked up that I was sharing with you that we're selling, we have them under contract. I have a contract that allows me to make all the profit, but I like the homeowner, and he's gone through hell and high water in a divorce. So you know what I told him? Hey, we sell them, we'll split it 50-50. That'd be okay with you. And I tell you what, Mitch, this guy loves me. And
I bet.
Like, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm just happy that you figure out a way to keep him from going to the foreclosure auction.
Yeah, now he's going to make some money. You don't have to glean the field. If you glean the field all the time, it kind of comes around, goes around. You've got to be careful.
Well, now
you don't have to glean the field.
He wants to hunt down properties for me.
See, there it is. It's already started. It's already started. That karma thing. Always there. All right, my friend. It's been a pleasure. This is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com. One last time, 1000houses.com/Coach Pat. Go over there, check it out. Check out his book, Pre-Foreclosure Rental Profits. Get in contact, see what it's about. You won't go anywhere if you don't take a chance, if you don't get out there and start moving and hustling a little bit. So go out there and do it. I'd also like to thank livecom.com, livecom.com. I have no signs in front of my houses. I'm selling my seller financed houses with no signs, and I'm selling them the last 200 average 4 days on the market. You can learn how I do that. It's very inexpensive. I used to laugh. I used to pay thousands of dollars a month for classified ads. Now I can reach the whole world. That doesn't cost anything, hardly pennies. So check it out, livecom.com. You can watch the video on the homepage, and you can check out all the videos I have there. livecom.com. Learn how smart phone numbers can change your life and make selling things, not just houses, but services, pools, whatever. It can really shortcut your sales process and cut your advertising budgets down to nothing. livecom.com. All right, we're out of here.